Dennis had this notion of what he called the good shit. This developed in the days after the ideas about hypercarbylation. And he claimed it was like a fantasy, it was like a joke, it wasn't clear exactly what it was, but it was this idea that there was this hash somewhere that had been rolled into cow dung and cut with cow dung and then infected with psilocybin mycelium, so that the mycelium had completely replaced the cow shit in this ball of hash, or this hypothesized kilos of hash somewhere in the world. And so there was this psilocybinated the good shit. And at one point he envisioned us actually forming a rock and roll band which would play instruments that would condense this stuff out of the air over large audiences. And, we would go on tour, and at the end of the tour, history would be, the whole thing would be in a shambles, because Uncle John's band really did come out of the woodwork. But so at one point, he predicted one night after he had been moved to the river and was sort of in semi-incarceration, he predicted that the good shit would come that night. And so I left with my girlfriend of the time, and it may have even been the same night as the Silver Key incident. And it was pouring rain, and we made our way like a quarter mile, half a mile back into the jungle to this other place where we were staying, where the original experiment had been done. And so then we get to the hut, and it's pouring rain, and I had scored this kilo of Santa Marta gold for the expedition, and we had smoked nothing but this, for Colombia, relatively reg weed for weeks. So I got it out to roll the evening's joint, and I was fumbling with it, and I got this thing lit, and this little crumb, this little burning thing fell on the floor, and I lifted it up and smelled it, and the transubstantiation had occurred. It was, like Mazari Sharif AAA Red Lion hashish of some sort, and I know hashish. And here we were in the center of the Amazon, in this hut, in this pouring rain, and I could tell that it was the good shit. It had actually manifest. And I showed the woman who was with me, who was easily led one way or another, but anyway, she didn't say it wasn't, and I stayed up late that night smoking this incredible hash and waiting for the rain to stop, so that at the first gray light of dawn I could go down to the river and confound my critics with, the stone itself, the alchemical quintessence, the concrescence, the excreta bonum, the good shit. Here it was. And so as dawn broke and the fog lifted, I made my way across this rainy pasture and sat down by the hammock of the sleeping form of my most vociferous critic and sort of elbowed her awake. And, there were other instances where this was the principle at work. It didn't work. Everything had returned to normal. It was the Cinderella screw-up, It was just that I was a char girl who washed pots, and there was no prince, and there was no coach, and there was no... And plus I was once again humiliated in the presence of my critics, who had further reason to think that a check into the local mental health care delivery system might not be a bad idea. These things happen.